Hi YouTube, welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. So we got another firmware update. This one will bring the NB4 Plus up to 1012 firmware. So let's bring you in for a close-up look and see how we get on with this one. Right, so first thing I'm going to do is just clip the base battery off because I just find this easier. I'm currently using the little Source Sky lightweight base. It just makes my job easier when I've got all these different transmitters to work my way through updating. So if we power this up, so we have got our NB4 Plus all connected. First thing you're going to want to do is go to flysky-cn.com, click on products, click on surface, then we go to us NB4 Plus. If we go to downloads and upgrades, we've got at the bottom here, we got it as assistant. So we can download that for either the Mac or PC. You've got the release notes. So if we quickly have a look at these. So we've got the race mode, which allows you to basically stop distractions, turns off the low signal and telemetry loss alarms. Modified functions for the low signal alarm. So we've got a few modifications to that. Under RX settings, telemetry loss feature can also be set up, so you can change the alarming for telemetry. Modified failsafe, so you've got judgment time. You need to have a look to see what that actually is. But basically it'll let you have a failsafe warning. Looks like it's pretty much bringing it up to line with some other newer transmitters that they brought out. And you do get a warning on the bottom. Make sure you calibrate your transmitter once you've done the update. It will remove all model memories. And also don't use model memories from an older version of Assistant with this. So the only other thing we need to look at, if we go into our system menu, scroll all the way to the bottom, and you can see your about, and it will say whether you've got the EN version or the EU version or the CN version. So if we drop out of this, first off we need to find our firmware version. So I've got the EN version of the transmitter, which is the English. On mine, I run the standard firmware. As you see, we've got the EU and the EN, both in FCC or standard. FCC gives slightly higher transmission power, so slightly more range, but batters your battery. And then standard, slightly lower range, normal transmission power, but your battery lasts a bit longer. Not really a problem on any NB4 transmitters, whichever you use. Technically, the FCC one's only legal for use in certain parts of states, not in Europe or UK, but do what you will. For me, because I run it at tracks and I don't want any issues, I'm going to use the standard firmware, and I've got the EN version, so I'll be downloading that one. So we click download. And then if I jump to my desktop, I've got Assistant folder. Then we've got NB4 Plus. I've created that folder, so I will save the update into that. Then we can minimize it. So we're going to want to load up our Flysky Assistant once we've got this installed. I have got a video on how to install Assistant and everything. So once we've got Assistant open, if you do get no device connected, check your USB cable, but also with this one I've been using it with the range extender. So if we go into setup USB, you'll see we've got the USB set in trainer mode. Change this back to USB function, you will get it show up. So we can click on device, we can go to export, tell it to load its model memories. Then we need to select the ones we want to back up. Now for me, I've got quite a lot of stuff that I'm testing on here, so I am going to back all 25 up. If you click on next, it'll flick you to the next screen. It is quicker if you just select the ones that you actually want to back up, but as I say, I've got a lot of stuff I've been messing around with on these, so I'm going to back all of them up. Click export, and for me, I go to my desktop, assistant folder, then I've got the NB4 Plus folder, so I'm going to make my backup in there first. And it's not the quickest of processors, but I do like to not skip this just in case people are trying to follow, and it does make it a bit awkward if I skip bits and they're not sure whether theirs is taking way too long, and then you get people unplugging the transmitters, which is not good because it does warn you not to do it. But I've had to recover a few brick transmitters because people like to unplug them when they're halfway through doing firmware updates. As a rule, when it's just importing or exporting model memories, all you're going to do is corrupt your actual model memories. Not on the transmitter, but your actual backup that you're making. Or it'll fail to transfer them all back if you do unplug it while it's doing an update. But in grand scheme of things, it doesn't really take long to do this. I would definitely make sure you have got the new version of Assistant when you're creating these backups, because from everything I can see and the warning on Flysky, you will not be able to restore older backups using the newer version of Assistant to the newer firmware as well. And so far I've managed to update the NB4 and the NB4 Pro. They've both gone through exactly as they should do, and we've not had any problem with them. I've been able to restore my models to them, being able to bind back to an RC, and it works. So once we've got that done, we can then click on our main page. You can go to firmware update. We've already done backup, so we can just click update. You can see the latest version is showing as 109. Now, for me, I don't like updating through here anyway, so at this point, I'm just going to close it. I'm going to go to our NB4 Plus folder. I'm going to go onto my transmitter. I'm going to go to System. I'm going to scroll all the way down to Firmware Update. You'll get a warning saying you may lose models. Press yes. Wait for the screen to come back on and say it's in firmware update mode. Then we need to open as updater. We can see current version 109. Transmitter's ready for updating. So all we need to do is click update. Now this is pretty quick. It does tell you the version it's updating it to is 1012. We're already at 7%. It says erasing flash. And it's so much quicker doing it this way than using Assistant. I've seen it take 15-20 minutes to do it on Assistant, and for me, when the update process is taking that long, that's a whole lot more time where you could have a power cut, somebody could accidentally disconnect the transmitter. I just don't see how it's a good option when the actual standalone updater is so much quicker. The only thing you have to make sure on this is that you have the transmitter in update mode before you open this program. Make sure it's the EN version if you've got an EN transmitter, or an EU version if you've got an EU transmitter, because you can't switch the regions on this, and it will give you an error that either it won't detect it at all or it'll say it can't update it. They are region locked, and it is just for homologation purposes. There's no difference between any transmitters other than the language packs that come on some of them. So if you get a CN version, it'll only have Chinese. But we're already at the point where it's programming flash. We're at 52%. And it does tend to jump the last part quite a bit. So we're now at 54% and we're only about a minute in. 55. But yeah, I've tried updating it through Assistant and it is so painfully slow. We're at 58% already. 59, and I'm sure this only takes a couple of minutes at most doing it this way. And as I say, when you're updating firmware, the quicker you can get the process over and done with, the less chance there is that you're going to have a power outage or accidentally disconnect something. We're already at 64%. I'm sure as it gets closer to end, it then jumps to 91 when it says verifying flash. I'm not sure why so many people struggle with these updates. I've done plenty of videos on them now, and I don't like to skip any of this so you can see exactly how long it takes, so you can follow on your own machine. The only time I've seen people get issues really is when you're not using the actual original cables that come with radio to do the updates. I know a lot of people get confused and they get power only cables, they're not data cables. So although it'd charge a battery, it won't be able to program anything. And we're currently at 76%. 77. And these little Lenovo Legion Go's absolutely amazing for doing firmware updates and everything on the RC stuff. Saves having to lug an entire computer around, and you could literally take one to track. All this, once it's downloaded, you do not have to be online for it, so you could update and swap model memories at the track. And we're at 83%. 84. It certainly takes longer to do the firmware on the Plus versions of the transmitters. I know the NB4 and the Pro were pretty quick on this. Only took around a minute. I think in Flysky Assistant they probably take about 10 minutes, and the Plus versions take a bit longer. So you quickly see it says update succeeded. We then get back on the transmitter. We can see that we're on 1012, so we can close that, and we can close this folder down. It says, do you want to set failsafe? We can just click no. First thing I would do is go into the settings and then calibration. And you just want to calibrate your throttle and your steering. It does show you the last calibrated models now. I'm not sure if that's an update on this firmware.
Calibration successful.
So we get calibration successful. Next, we're going to go back into as Assistant. Just make sure you don't have the other updater software open at the same time. We need to wait for his transmitter to be detected. We can go back to Import, Load Model Memories. Then I want to go back to my desktop, Assistant, Pro Plus folder, select as models, and we can click Import. Then we can click Select All, Add. At this point you can maneuver them around. You can choose to not bring them all over if you just wanted certain ones, or you want to put them on in different order, you can, and you can reorder them. If you select reset, it'll get rid of a lot. Select all, you can bring them all over. And then this is the point where Assistant usually likes to crash if it's going to crash when we're restoring model memories. It did it on the NB4 when I was doing these firmware videos, but the Pro and the NB4 Plus might go through successfully. It is trying its best. In grand scheme of things though, it's always better as a rule to be on the latest firmware. Then when you buy new receivers and things, you don't then end up with a receiver that was released after the firmware was released on your transmitter, so it won't work. I've seen that be a problem for a few people. Or they buy new sensors and they're not compatible, or like with the Hobbywing Axe system, where you've got iBus 2 that controls the ESC. They don't have that function because they're on older firmware. But we should now be fully back up and running. So we've got his model back on. We've got his steering. We've got his throttle. So let's go in here. Go to model. So we've got the set as race mode that knocks the other warnings off. Let's see what models we've got. In fact, just for a quick one, if I select that, then check, we've got all the new fail-safe options. So if we grab the little test RC, and just remember you will have to bind back to whatever RCs you've got set up. So I'll just put my bind plug in here, turn it on, start bind.
Binding successful.
And we do have steering. And we do have his throttle. So everything's now fully working. If I just unplug that, get rid of the bind plug, pop it back in. So yeah, fully updated. No issues with anything. It all connects straight back up. It binds straight back up to an RC. Remember to run your calibration once you've updated it. But other than that, yeah, fully updated, fully working. Let's wrap this one up. So there you have it, the NB4 Plus. Doing all these radios in one day, it's getting confusing. Updated to 1012. Fully updated, models backed up and restored, steering, everything works. So far we've done the NB4, the Pro, and now the NB4 Plus. No issues with the process. The one thing I would say is just remember, if you've got an older version of your model memories, delete them. If you've got an older version of Assistant, remove that. Download the new version of Assistant. Check which version of transmitter you've got, as in EU or EN or CN. Download the firmware for that version, either FCC if you want longer range, standard if you want the normal range. Download the version that you want for your transmitter first, then open Assistant, make your model memory backups, close Assistant, put the transmitter in update mode. When the transmitter's ready in update mode, then open the firmware updater, click it, run it, wait for that to finish. Your transmitter will reboot, close the updater, reopen Assistant, re-input your model memories. Make sure you have calibrated the throttle and the wheel once you've got the firmware updated. But yeah, put your model memories back on and then just rebind to your respective RCs. And yeah, it all seems to work. I've not got any issues with it. The new options are there. So yeah, don't forget to leave a comment below if you're having problems. I'll do my best to help you out, or join the Wtf Rc Car forums. I'll put a QR code somewhere around. But yeah, thanks again for watching Wtf Rc Cars. Hopefully you find this useful, entertaining, or just like listening to my incessant ramblings. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. It does help channel out a lot. Share to friends and family. And Have fun and catch you guys again in the next one.